Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and today we're going to be checking out the TMNT Ultimates Leatherhead. I guarantee it. That's right, my friends. First of all, look how massive this box is. Look at this. It's huge compared to the other boxes in this particular wave because it houses this massive chunky boy in here. I'm pretty excited for this one. He looks great inside the packaging. You can see in there that the tail is detached, so we are going to have to attach that tail when we get it opened up. Otherwise, same style window box showcasing all of our accessories in here. We do have a bio on the back for the swamp stomping raging Cajun gator. Let's get this guy pulled out of the box. Let's get a closer look at him. All right, hey, we've got our Leatherhead outside of the packaging. Let's go ahead and bring in the tape measure here. We have to get a couple different measurements here. So the way I've got him standing right now, you can see he almost goes up to the full 7 inches with his hat there, so probably more around 6.5, the top of his head. And then I guess from the tail to the tip of the nose, I mean, we're looking at close to 9 inches there. Now, if you guys remember, this is modeled after the vintage toy from Playmates, which was much more crouched over. So you can get this guy kind of posed in those different poses, but you can see I had him standing kind of upright too. This is important because I think right away we need to address this. Yes, we still have the same loose hips with Leatherhead that I've had for many of the figures in this wave, and it is particularly difficult with this guy because of his overall shape and because of how heavy he can be. Now, here, you can see I got him standing. So it is possible to kind of finagle him, get him standing in a pose there, but there are a lot of times, especially like if you want to get the crouched over pose, you want to make sure that you also are positioning the tail, because luckily the tail joint is pretty tight. You might remember I mentioned that we had to plug the tail on, so that just plugs onto a ball joint. It's pretty tough to get on there too, so you might even need to heat it up a little bit, but I was able to get it just by applying a little bit of pressure. You can see that the plastic curls just a little bit just from like rubbing against here, but this is one of the tighter joints, so it is going to actually help with the balancing just a little bit here. While we're in this area, I think it's worth mentioning all these details are very, very nice on this guy, right? Like looking at the belt here, like look at this, he's got like the shotgun shells, he's got pouches, he's got a nice shiny gold belt buckle there, little bag with a fish hook. So some of these accessories clip onto his belt outside of the packaging. So we got this lobster here, it's got a little peg, it just plugs right there. It's pretty easy to knock it off while you're articulating him around, but just standing on the shelf, it should be fine. Same goes for this little turtle that I just bumped off. You can see there's a little peg there, plus it hangs on this little hook hanging off there. So you put that little, plug that little peg into the hole and we can get the little turtle dangling off as well. Now there's one more item that unfortunately on mine is broken. So he's also supposed to have these little feathers or leaves hanging off of his belt as well, but there's a little peg that's supposed to be there for that. Unfortunately, mine was broken out of the packaging. Now there's a little hole there, so I thought maybe I could just plug this back in, but it does look like it actually snapped. So I'm probably going to end up having to glue this, unfortunately. Mine was laying broken inside the box, so hopefully this isn't like a widespread issue here. I think part of the problem is that the belt itself seems to be made of a very rigid plastic, because one of the things that I really noticed is you got the holster on the back, which I believe is supposed to be for the shotgun accessory like on the vintage toy, but it really doesn't fit. I mean, like, you got to really squeeze that in there. Look at that. It is very, very tight. There's not a lot of give. It's just made of a very rigid plastic. But yeah, you can plug that in there if you want to. Just be prepared. It's a very, very tight fit. Now, the rest of the figure does look really great. And again, I have to give all the credit for how good the sculpts look. The paint deco is really nice on this guy. I love how big and chunky this guy is. I mean, just look at him in my hand here. You can see that lobster just fell off again. But he's a very, very nice looking figure. I love the details on this guy. I love all of those individually, like the sculpted scales and everything. Got some nice metallics on this knife that's strapped to his arm there. You've got some great textures on his leathery boots, which is very cool. No details on the bottom, but the boots themselves look nice. Got those big bushy yellow eyebrows and those red eyes just like on the vintage toy. And you can articulate his mouth too. So just real quick, just to show you, like, opening up his mouth, You got that big tongue in there and everything. Very pink, but it's very glossy too, so it gives it a little bit of a wet look. So really cool looking as far as all that goes, but let's go ahead and work through the rest of the articulation here so you guys know what to expect. Now, you do have that nice ball joint at the base of the neck. This allows the head to look forwards, but also upwards, so you can get those different poses where he's a little lower to the ground, and then when his head is upwards, that's when the mouth opens a little bit better. You can also turn the head left and right. It's actually a really good range of movement up there. You got the shoulders that can go outwards, forwards, and backwards. You got swivels at the elbow, a single bend at the elbow, swivels at the wrist, the hinge joints at the wrist. Of course, these are interchangeable hands, which we'll get to in just a bit. The waist turns left and right there. It is a little loose in this area, but it's here in the hips where it's definitely the loosest. You can see those joints do roll all the way around. You got a single joint at the knees. I actually really like the kind of tears in the jeans that hide those joints a little bit. Swivels at those joints as well. And then the ankles, you can hinge forwards and backwards as well as rock side to side. So all the articulation is nice. I just wish it was a little bit tighter to be able to get them to stand up properly. So here, look, I got him bounced pretty good there. Let's go ahead and try to get him in like that lower pose. So the tail, again, is going to be key to this. It's a little tighter, so we can kind of bend the tail where we need to. But this is definitely the pose where it's a little bit harder to get him up because, again, he's top heavy, he's longer, and this is kind of like the pose from the vintage toy, but it is a lot harder to get that pose without him falling down. Let's see if we can get him here. Come on, Leatherhead. We're going to use the weight of the tail to balance him a little bit. Yeah, it is really unfortunate how loose these hips are. It really is a big bummer on these, because this is another instance where I feel like this figure would be perfect if he was a little bit easier to stand up. Hey, there we go. We got him. Okay, we got some interchangeable hands there. You might notice right now we've got closed fists. We've also got a set of tighter gripping hands and a set of looser gripping hands with the trigger finger. Now, these are going to be meant to hold on to his shotgun accessory, while these are meant to hold on to his other accessory, which is this crazy fishing pole. Yeah, he's got a fishing rod. So we can easily change the hands just by pulling those out of sockets. We'll get the tighter gripping one plugged in over here just so you can see it. Pop it into place, and of course this one here can hold on to the fishing rod pretty easily if that's an accessory that you wish for him to hold on to. Alright, so we're plugging in the trigger finger open gripping hands now, because that shotgun accessory that I brought in just briefly earlier, you can see it's very nice, very chunky, but I do like the details on there, and you can see he does hold it very nicely, and those trigger finger hands also work well to hold the barrel up here at the front, so you can actually get some pretty cool poses of them getting ready to blast at the turtles, which is pretty crazy. But that gun did come with the vintage figure as well. And then there's also the trap, the bear trap accessory. So this was also one that came straight out of the vintage line. This is just molded in a brown plastic. It does have a little bit of a metallicness to it, but not too much. But you can see it is articulated, so you can close it as well. Just a great nod to the vintage toy line. And of course, you do also get all of these accessories on the little sprue tree, just an unpainted brown plastic. Look, you can still open the trap on there though. So you've got that as an option. Also, the vintage ones' weapons were red, but we still have them in brown here if that's something that you want to have. Alright guys, it's comparison time. Let's go ahead and stand this brand new Leatherhead alongside his vintage action figure counterpart, just so you can see the two standing side by side. Again, it's very cool to see how similar they are with the updates to this brand new figure. And there you go, my friends. That is a look at the brand new TMNT Ultimates Leatherhead figure. Once again, I have the same assessment that I've had with many of the figures in this particular wave. This figure is almost perfect. I love the way he looks. I love how chunky he is, but that articulation is killer. I mean, the fact that it's so hard to pose him standing, especially since he's such an awkward shape and he's so top heavy, like you really do need tighter joints at the hips and the legs so that we can keep him standing. So this is something that I really hope to see get worked out moving forward with the Ultimates line. So these guys are in stock with Super7 right now and starting to ship. So if you pre-ordered him, you should have him very soon. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and until next time.